Hey all, and welcome to Shadow Space, and we're commenting on another BCP video. This one is titled, Ghetto Democrat delivers devastating news to James Talarico begging for black voters to support him. This was uploaded August 23rd, this is being recorded August 24th, and link is in the description.
People keep trying to say, well, Jasmine has to go and hold his hand. No, I don't.
That is Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett responding to her critics who believe she should actively campaign with state lawmaker James Talarico in the race for U.S. Senate against Attorney General Ken Paxton. Now, she argues, no, she doesn't.
Why? She's a member of the Party of Inclusion. Why should she have to support anyone? That doesn't make sense.
She wants to spend her time helping the 5 down-ballot candidates she endorsed, and she thinks getting higher turnout within the black community will also help Talarico. She was speaking at the...
She's also a black woman, so anyone who isn't also black or a woman, she doesn't represent. So she either can't or she shouldn't.
Essence Festival in New Orleans with the host of the Native Land podcast. There, she went on to call her primary race against Talarico back in March racist. That was something that was picked up and shared around by Paxton and his supporters. Here's what she said.
The best thing that I can do for James Talarico isn't me standing on the stage with him. It is the fact that I endorsed 5 candidates in the runoff who all happen to be black men in the state of Texas, and every single one of them won, and they're going on to November, meaning that they will pull out more black people to vote. People keep trying to say, well, Jasmine has to go and hold his hand. No, I don't. And don't worry about my math and how it works in my mind. Because the reality is that if you can give people more than one thing to vote for, then you have a better chance of getting them out to the polls. And honestly, some people just not going to be sold on certain people that are running in the state of Texas. You see, a lot of haters got a lot of things to say about me and my race and how I ran it, but the reality is that there was a lot of racist, not a lot, it was racist. It was a racist race. It is what it is, right? But we live in America, as y'all are celebrating 250, okay? We know what this country is.
Fuck Talarico, okay? At this point, I have been trying to figure out how I could be a neutral person, how I could support the Democratic Party and still keep my morals. I can't. Jasmine Crockett, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I love you down. I have so much love for you and so much support with you, but as a Mo City girl, I cannot do it. As James Talarico has been pushed up as this good white Christian man that took money from AIPAC, that is supported by a Republican who supports Wigs R Us in office. That's his biggest donor. As a man that sit there and watch the shit happen as these votes were coming in, watch black people in Dallas County be disenfranchised and said, hey, I want to stop this shit. Let's let all the votes come in. And he didn't do that shit. He did not. He watched it happen and he did not. As a white man who called a black man mediocre and thought it was okay, fuck you. Okay, I cannot do that. Okay, we are doing the same shit over and over and over again, expecting different results. You're putting a white Christian man in office. We're fighting a Christian war right now in Iran for the sake of fucking Israel. This man took money from AIPAC, okay?
I don't think Christianity or Judaism has anything to do with what we're doing in the Middle East.
So we got to continue our coverage of the drama between Jasmine Crockett, the Ghetto Congresswoman who lost her primary race to James Talarico to run for Senate in Texas. And since then, she has been very, very, very salty. Okay, she's been boohoo, whining, crying racism. And James Talarico has been desperate for her support because James Talarico, allegedly, according to some people, he's struggling with the black vote, right? He's struggling with the black community.
Do you support reparations, and would you legislate for an anti-black crime bill?
Thank you. Restoration, repairing past harms is part of my faith tradition. It's part of the values I was raised with. And it's exactly why we need a lot of the policies we've been talking about here to invest in black communities, to invest in black Texans, whether it's tuition relief, whether it's home ownership grants, whether it is baby bonds to ensure that we are helping to build that generational wealth, we have to correct the injustices of our past. I talked about Sam Branch, Texas. I don't think I mentioned that Sam Branch is a freedman community. So we are seeing the reverberations of slavery in modern-day Texas all over the place. And until we as a society are committed to righting those past wrongs, of restoring our black communities, we're never going to be able to get this country back on track.
Dude, people are living in storm drains. All of this is useless. All of this is just talking points. None of this matters.
And
Texas, we see what happened with Carmelo Anthony, and you said it was a tragedy.
yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I've done a lot of work in the State House on justice reform, and right now we've got a system that doesn't serve all Americans equally, and we know that black Texans have been have not gotten the justice they deserve in many cases. And you know, I'm not an expert on this particular case, but I know that there were no black members of the jury, and to me, that's the only evidence you need to.
And yet, wasn't it evidence that they brought up in the case when they presented it for the retrial? So clearly, you're just wrong.
The system is not working for black Texans.
The only way you win the state of Texas as a Democrat is if you overperform with black voters. I just came back from Houston last night, meeting with operatives on the ground and state elected officials. They are concerned that there's mild enthusiasm among black voters, and that this $25 million that Talarico promised he was going to spend over a month ago.
They voted for him over Jasmine Crockett. I assume that the black people are on board because they were the whole time.
Has yet to start to flow. The investments aren't there yet. And then you couple that with the fact that Elon Musk said he's going to spend nearly $200 million on these races, and Texas is a huge target for that. And you got a problem with black voters in Texas. You got 34% of black men voting for Donald Trump. So if you're going to wait until Labor Day to start campaigning with black voters, you're playing to lose.
And this is what I said about why Jasmine Crockett lost, but she doesn't want to listen to it. So, okay, that's fine.
Because
you don't have to.
Jasmine Crockett, right? They don't like the fact that his campaign was racist against her, right? And I think that low-key Jasmine Crockett wants black people not to vote for James Talarico as revenge over the fact that he beat her in the primary race, right? I think that's kind of what's happening here. Because Jasmine Crockett still is not outright endorsing James Talarico, despite James Talarico basically lying, claiming that Jasmine Crockett explicitly endorsed him. She never actually did that. She clearly still is salty about losing to James Talarico, and in this interview, she makes it very clear that the Democrat Party has to deal with the racism that is so prevalent within the party, right? Which, again, I love. I love the fact that she's saying this
about James Talarico. He was recently on the Breakfast Club. Yeah. And they asked him, or he brought up the fact that he's defended you. Actually, we have a clip. Let me play the clip really quick. Okay.
You were at a town hall. I know Keith Edwards came up, Rogue DNC came up, the folks who were adamant about attacking Jasmine online, and you said that you wanted them to keep Jasmine's name out of their mouths.
Yes.
The primary's over. Do you wish you would have said that sooner?
The first day that the Congresswoman got in the race, I put out a video on social media, sent it to our 50,000 volunteers, sent it to our entire campaign staff, every person who worked for the campaign. And you go back and watch it. It was in December. And I said that Congresswoman Crockett is my friend. She is a leader, and she deserves our utmost respect. And then I kept repeating it throughout the campaign because I kept seeing this vitriol on social media. And obviously I can't police every single comment section, but I can show leadership.
But it does help your campaign, right? Like I want you to really answer this question. Like if you saw these coded, I guess, racial dog whistles that were undermining Jasmine Crockett, it doesn't really behoove you to step out there and be like, hey, don't do that, because you still want to win, right?
Well, so I would disagree.
What would it matter if he came out here and said, like, why even run at that point? If you weren't actually running to win, then why would you even run? Wouldn't you get into politics to actually get into a position in politics? Maybe not.
Because attacks on the congresswoman, I think, make it harder for us to win this general election. Like in Texas, there's no way for any one of our communities to win this election alone. And so we need Black Texans to win this race. And then when we win this race in November, I'll represent the most African Americans of any senator in the country.
Because that was one of the racial dog whistles that they said that she wasn't electable. Like, you could win statewide, but she couldn't.
Yep. And I got asked about this on The View on national television. And they asked me point blank, like, do you think Congresswoman Crockett is electable? I said, absolutely. And I said, if she wins this primary, like, I'm going to be behind her 1,000%.
What's your relationship now?
Obviously the primary was difficult. We've exchanged some messages. I was blown away by the fact that the morning after the primary, early, the next morning, Congresswoman Crockett was out there with a statement endorsing me and the entire ticket. If I'm being very honest, I don't know if I could have done that.
What's your reaction to hearing that?
Yeah, listen, the primary is 5 months past us, but I swear, I guess it's just more clicks to mention my name because I don't think in the history of this country...
You're a player in the game. People are going to talk about you. You were a player. Just... Sits here and talks about how they want to be in the spotlight, but then when they're in the spotlight, they complain that they're in the spotlight. Whatever.
A race where, everyone keeps talking about the person that didn't win. But, that's where we are. I will say that there are those that believe I have an underground railroad popping off in Texas, and that I've been telling all the Black folk on the Underground Railroad, don't do this or don't do that, and it's so far from the truth. I frankly stopped doing as many TV interviews because I don't want to talk about the race, to be perfectly honest. And the reasons that I don't is because right now people just need to focus on whatever it's going to take to win. But there is a reckoning that this party needs to have. There isn't... the racism was very clear. And, Angela posed a question and Charlamagne did the follow-up because the reality is that there was a coordinated online effort that was taking place that was putting out misinformation, disinformation. Yeah, that's fine. Like there was straight up online bullying bullshit. And for me as a elected official, I'm used to, all the things. What was happening though is everyone was watching it. And for Black folk, it is very difficult for them to, Black people are not super trusting of people they don't know, especially in politics. And I think that non-Black candidates or candidates that just aren't as familiar with the Black community don't understand the deep distrust that the Black community has for any politician, Democrat or Republican.
They voted for a white man to have the seat in the primary race over you, a Black woman. This is such cope. I don't care about any of this. Just...
Yeah, so you say that you heard that. Now, what I find to be so hilarious is that James Talarico continues to run around talking about how Jasmine Crockett endorsed him. She did not explicitly endorse him, right? She endorsed the quote-unquote whole ticket, but she's not going to explicitly endorse James Talarico in his campaign, while at the same time, she is soft-sabotaging his campaign, again, by not explicitly endorsing his campaign, and on top of that, she doesn't even want to talk about it. Think about this, right? Think about how crazy this is. She's a congresswoman from Texas. And
right, why can't she just come out and say, he'll be a great candidate, he deserves support over the Republican, unless she just wants him to lose, unless she wants whoever the Republican candidate is to win. Like, just, it doesn't matter.
Congress, right? She spent all her time on national television, running around the country, campaigning on behalf of all these other people who have nothing to do with Texas, right? She tells you this. She says, well, I've been all around the country, involved in these primaries, doing this, doing that. But now all of a sudden, she doesn't want to get involved in an election in her own state, right? If the candidate is not black, right?
No.
She don't really want to be involved, right? So she will come out and explicitly endorse the black candidates, right? But she won't explicitly endorse the white candidate. And she don't want to do interviews no more. Well, see, I just don't want to talk about this race. Why not? This is your state. This is your state, Jasmine. Why don't you want to talk about this race in your state? You want to talk about all these other races. You want to go to all these other states and be involved in their campaigns that you have nothing to do with, by the way. But when it comes to your state and the race that you lost, right? The candidate that is in the spot that you wanted. Oh, well, see, I don't want to talk about that. Right? I just don't want to talk about it. It's amazing. It's amazing. She's soft sabotaging James Talarico. In fact, she's going as far as to suggest that the polls showing that James Talarico is beating Kim Paxton are fake, right? That's what she's saying. She's saying they're inaccurate. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I've been working on primaries, and she said to me, she said, I will never forget what happened. This is, so I'm like, y'all don't understand that it's the attacks on somebody that's very beloved, specifically within the community, because I've been a fighter. So like, people believe that there's, you know, especially every headline that anybody gets of me where they're asking me, well, can he win or can this and that? I get that everybody thinks Ken Paxton is terrible, and he is. Mm-hmm. He's absolutely trash, right? At the same time, he's been elected almost for 20 years in Texas. So if you want to sit there and believe...
okay. So who do you vote for? You can't vote for Ken Paxton because he's a Republican. Okay, you also can't vote for James Talarico. So who do they vote for? What do they do? You don't tell them what to do. You just tell them, you just shame them for picking either option. Well, obviously, both sides are equally awful, and you shouldn't support either of them. Okay, but those are my only two options. I mean, I guess, because I said it before, they could try to write in you, but if they didn't vote for you for the position, for the primary, somehow I doubt that you would be able to get enough support in order to get written in to take this position. That just because I don't think it matters.
He's a creep, that he somehow can't be elected, then you ain't been paying attention.
Yeah.
Because in Texas, he can get elected. Mm-hmm. Because he's been getting elected. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So my deal is, let's go ahead and be honest about the fact that this isn't a cakewalk. Like, y'all need to be real. And let's also look at how bad polling has been. Polling told y'all Hillary was gonna win. And y'all looked at Donald Trump and said he was trash and said he couldn't win. And what happened? Yeah. Trash got elected. Yeah. So I'm not going to sugarcoat.
Well, no, again, your party was divided between Democrat socialists who supported Bernie Sanders and establishment Democrats who supported Hillary Clinton. And the Bernie bros refused to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's why you lost, because you could not get the vote of the Bernie bros. Most of the Bernie bros votes went to Donald Trump. We are just here again. Except now, supposedly, there are more socialists than there are establishment Democrats. So, presumably, whereas Hillary got the endorsement last time, she got the position, I imagine that it would be Bernie Sanders, or his equivalent, who would get the position now. But that's just a guess. I don't know.
I had the same attitude if I was the nominee of, this can't just be, oh yeah, we got a good poll. You have to get out there and work.
You said something about the money, too. You said you were watching where the money goes. Not just
Correct.
The polling, but the money.
Correct. People don't like the truth, right?
Yeah.
They don't. Mm-hmm. And here's the deal.
I mean, the fact that people don't know who you are should prove that you're not going around, that you're not going door to door and talking to people. If you did, then the polling would reflect that you were talking to these people, you were listening to their problems, and you were getting them on board. Clearly you're not, because the polling is showing that he's doing better than you are, or whatever is happening with the polling is reflecting something. Just
Beto came really close, but Beto snuck them, right? Like they didn't see they didn't see him coming, right? They will never chill again, especially with Donald Trump being in the White. It was a Donald Trump backlash year when Beto ran. But my deal is definitely James has a financial advantage over Ken Paxton. He has about twice as much money, okay, on hand, I think. But the reality is that the National Republicans announced that they were about to spend $100 million between North Carolina and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
no idea.
They don't seem they're not letting the biggest Republican state go. Mm-hmm. You understand that if Texas goes, that means they don't get the White House.
Yeah.
Right? Like they have to have Texas and then all these other little red states, right? Mm-hmm. That is their biggest state. They're not letting that go. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they're like spending $100 million between North Carolina and Georgia, two smaller states, you think they wouldn't be spending in Texas if they were nervous, right? So, and at the same time, the National Democrats have not announced a spin in Texas. So I'm like, all right, everybody out here, you know, like, oh yeah, it's happening. But the people on the inside have not made that. The day after Abdul won, not even 24 hours later, they had a video out for Abdul, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, but they know that we can win Michigan because that's a seat that we currently hold.
Right.
So I think that, do I think that it's impossible? No. But like, am I looking at them? Am I looking at all these different things? And I'm saying yes. Now, I have been busy around the country on so many other races that I'm unaware of the nitty gritty about what's happening on the ground because again, they got snuck by Beto, right? Yeah. Beto was creating his own. The rest of them weren't looking at him either, right? But he almost got them, but he was doing things on the ground. So like, I can't assess that as I'm traveling to Michigan and Missouri and all over, right? To see, is there a groundswell that I can feel that maybe they're not aware of? Because when you in DC, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, because you're not on the ground.
Exactly.
So when he says that he defended you, he wasn't loud enough. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that, I mean, I know what video he's talking about. It was when I got into the race, it was, you know, we welcome the Congresswoman to the race or whatever. The day that I got into the race, it wasn't, that's not when all this stuff popped off. I mean, that's, you know, so, I mean, and again, it's not so much about the defending, like I'm a big girl. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like the president comes for me. Yeah. Like I get people that come for me all the time.
And yet you engage in the same childish behavior, the same silly antics.
So that's not a thing for me. Mm-hmm. I think that going through the general election, some of the pushback that he's getting, it's not about whether or not I got hurt. It was about people, Black people specifically, wondering, will he fight for me? Because when they came for his former colleague...
Yeah, okay, why would they wonder that when they voted for him to run against Ken Paxton in the first place? Why wouldn't they have been worried about that to the point where they voted for you instead of for him? Why are you now saying this like it's true if it wasn't?
His friend, we didn't see it. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I get attacked
relentlessly.
Then
That's nothing new.
are you ignorant? Do you just not pay attention? Are you doing this on purpose?
But the attacks were racial, which again, I get that all the time as well, right? But I think that when trying to understand why a constituency, there are those that just want to say, well, it's Jasmine's fault, and it's because Jasmine's not out there with him side by side. Yeah, because frankly, one seat in the country, when I have the ability to influence change and seats all around the country, and frankly, Texas Democrats decided that they didn't want or need I applied for a job, I didn't get it. Most people don't apply for the job and then don't get it, and then be like, but I'm gonna show up every day and I'm finna do this job anyway. Like, that's not.
I mean, that is what they say to do, is to apply multiple times, because more than likely, the first time that you apply, either it's going to get rejected or you're not going to get a response back. I have no idea what you're talking about with this.
That, like, the things that were said were, and this is by people that voted for him as well, said things like, well, we love her, but we're just afraid that she's going to bring MAGA out. Okay, cool. If y'all are afraid that I'm going to now jazz MAGA up and cause a problem for us, like, then why would you now want me out there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like talking out of both sides of your mouth. And in my mind, the best way that I can help the people of Texas is if I go in and I help out on these down ballot races, because typically people rely on the top of the ticket to drag people in. That's the marquee race.
Well, if you think that you can do the most help by supporting candidates, then I don't know why you don't support James Talarico. See, this is the part that doesn't make sense to me, is at the same time you say that you can be the best help by supporting candidates, and yet for some reason you aren't supporting James Talarico, even though in the same breath you say that you don't want Ken Paxton to win. Okay, well, you saying that you don't want Ken Paxton to win means that you want James Talarico to win. But then you say that you don't want him to win, or that you don't think you should have to hold his hand? But then I feel like the only reason that you would be saying this is if you were scared that James Talarico wasn't going to actually win, and that James Paxton, or that Ken, oh my god, I don't even know who these people are, that Ken Paxton could potentially win. Like,
how you get people to come out. I personally don't feel like the excitement necessarily exists within the Black community, right now. Like, I don't feel like they're excited, right? But I do have some amazing Black candidates that are.
So how do you know that this rationale was the actual rationale? I've heard from Black people say that the reason that they wouldn't vote for you is because you're too loud and obnoxious. So is it that they didn't feel comfortable telling you the reason that they weren't going to vote for you to your face? Or do you truly believe this kind of non-answer about why it is that they didn't support you? I mean, him saying that God is non-binary would be just as triggering to white Christians as you being Black and running for the position. I don't know how you would bring MAGA out to vote against you, but he wouldn't. I don't think I quite agree with that.
In some of the largest counties. So if I can introduce Black folk to them, that may excite them and get them to the polls. So I'm working backwards, but the reality is that, like, I don't know of anybody calling Tom Steyer and asking him, bro, you dropped $200 million in Cali.
In fact, the fact that you lost this election kind of means that this is your role, is to support the candidates who are coming up who need the support. Well, James Talarico is a candidate who needs your support, and yet for some reason, you're choosing to either throw him under the bus or make this two-faced argument where you're like, well, it's not like I support Ken Paxton, but he is also a racist, and he ran a racist campaign against me. Like, I endorse him, but I don't endorse him. You're such duplicitous people.
You gonna drop some money, you like make it rain somewhere else, Tom. Like, you got it, right? Like, no one else. And so it's also just a double layer of like insult, just kind of the continuous like, she gotta go and she gotta do, like, nobody can tell me what to do. Like, I just happen to be a person that actually gives a damn. Like, I ran because I care.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So you're like Marty McFly, where people call him a chicken, and then he immediately acts out of emotion, and acting out of emotion usually ends up making the situation worse.
If you care so much, why don't you put your pride aside and support the white guy, right? But she can't do that. Now, yeah, I'm glad that she's not supporting the white guy, right?
It was really subtle, but it happened at the end of the third movie where he seems like he's going to play chicken with those other guys, and then he just throws it into reverse. And he's like, why did you do that? And it's like, I don't have to prove myself to them.
But do you guys hear how racist this is, right? She said, look, I want to support the Democrats in Texas, but just not the white guy, right? Not the white guy at the top of the ticket that beat me. I'm good on that. But all the black people, right, down ballot, I'll support them. I'm going to support my blacks, right? My brothers and sisters, right? Now, again, how racist is that? Could you guys imagine if the roles were reversed, right? And had, Jasmine Crockett beat James Talarico. And then James Talarico says, well, shoot, it ain't my job to hold your hand. I'm actually going to support in a way that I know how, right? Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to support all the white candidates down ballot. And I'm not going to support the top of the ticket. Because
she would just make the same argument that, well, the only reason that he's refusing to support me is because he's racist. It's what you say. You don't get out of it. You either have to apologize because you act like a racist, or they call you a racist and you just act the way you want to anyways. You either walk on eggshells to try to appease them, in which case, the moment you step out of line, they're just going to engage in the behavior anyways, or you just engage in the behavior knowing that this is what they're going to do, and then when they do it, you just don't care.
Campaign was racist.
Or you have appropriate counters for when they start to engage this way.
Be losing their minds, right? This is only acceptable when it's a black person, right? It's only acceptable for a black Democrat to be openly racist.
Yeah.
And say, I'm just going to support the blacks only and not the whites, even though you're all supposed to be on the same team. So again, this doesn't sound like somebody that is explicitly endorsing James Talarico. She does not want James Talarico to win. In fact, she would rather Ken Paxton win so that she can feel vindicated than for...
Well, see, the funny thing is I have absolutely no idea. After this whole interview, granted I didn't watch the whole interview, I'm just watching this little section of it, I have no idea what her position is for who to endorse in this race. I have no idea whether she thinks you should support Ken Paxton. I have no idea whether she thinks you should support James Talarico. As far as I can tell, her position is you should just stay home. But she hasn't said that either. I have no idea who she thinks you should vote for in this election. I honestly have no idea.
James Talarico to win and to flip that seat because she wanted to be the one to do it. And I love this. I absolutely love this for the Democrats. This is who they're in bed with. And again, the word on the street is that despite the fake polls, that the so-called black voters are not excited about James Talarico. That James Talarico is not exciting to the black voters. That he's not, getting them out the way that, he should be, right? In order to win a state like Texas.
See, but, all that says to me is all of the black people in Texas who believe that Carmelo Anthony should be freed aren't voting for James Talarico. So as long as those people don't make up the majority of black people, I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to be that important.
So I think, Jasmine Crockett here, I'm not saying that she has that much pull in the black community in Texas. I don't think she does, right? I think she definitely feels like she has more influence than she actually has, again, considering how, again, she lost, right? She couldn't even get those blacks
Well,
to get out and vote for her.
she lost, and not every black candidate that she has endorsed has ended up going on or winning whatever race they were running for. So her word doesn't have as much weight as she thinks that it does, or as she says it does.
Right. But, ultimately at the day, she's certainly not helping.
I mean,
right, with the way
she has a constituency. She has people who listen to her that she listens to.
she's going about
I'm sure
this.
she does.
The fact she keeps calling his campaign racist, this is soft sabotage. That's what it is. She sabotages his campaign, and then when he loses, she'll turn around and say, "Well, see, I told you so." Right? I told you he couldn't get the blacks excited. Right? I told you he wasn't that strong of a candidate. Y'all tried to claim that it was just on me, right? It's because I'm a black woman, but the white man lost too to the Republican. So I think that's the play here, and I'm here for it. I am all for Jasmine Crockett sabotaging the Democrats, right? Go ahead,
right?
Girl. Yeah.
And then we'll be able to sit here and say, well, if you had actually supported him instead of sitting here saying that he was a racist and that the only reason that he won was because of racism, maybe he would have won. Maybe the Republican wouldn't have won.
You right. They racist. James Talarico ran a racist campaign. He didn't grovel to you enough. He didn't defend you enough. You right. You right. Okay. Black folks should sit home. Sit home in Texas. James Talarico is a racist. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
I don't know. I mean, it's like the race in Michigan is going to be interesting to see whether the Democrat guy actually ends up winning over the Republican. This race is going to be interesting to see whether Ken Paxton wins out over James Talarico. It's one where in a lot of these places are toss-ups. It's going to be interesting to see what the split between the DSA and the ED actually does in a lot of these races. We'll have to see. I mean, she's basically saying that if you supported James Talarico, then you supported a racist. Which makes you, by extension, a racist. See, it's all they just shame you. It's social credit score. Anything that they can do to make the public think that you're some sort of bad person is what they're going to do. It's character defamation and reputation destruction. Oh, well, he ran a racist campaign. Okay, so you're going to say that white Democrats are racist. Okay, got it. Understood. Good to know. Or, white Democrats are racist? I mean, we knew that the whole time, but whatever.